This is the Blackout Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people doing amazing things. And today I have AJ Simmonds. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
Great. No, I'm good.
Thank you.
So let's start with what are you currently working on right now?
So currently I work at Halifax Partnership. So I just passed the year there actually about a few weeks back. So I work with the Connector program there. I'm a program coordinator. So basically what we do is we work with recent grads and newcomers. And we kind of help them get connected to employers and business leaders in their industries. It's pretty cool for me because I'm a pretty recent grad myself, right? So it's kind of funny. I'm giving these recent grads advice, and I remember looking back to where I was a few years ago. They're still so much further ahead of me. So it's funny. I'm in this position now, trying to talking to them and helping them start their career, right? But no, it's awesome. And I also work part time at an agency called the Acro. So it's like a small children's home, basically. I work with people who have disabilities. So it's about 3 or 4 clients in each home, and you just kind of hang out with them and, care, provide for them, whatnot.
Wow, I didn't know about that one. I know about Halifax Partnerships. And how did you get to work with Halifax Partnership?
So it's funny. I came through the Connector program as a connectee, actually, originally. Oh. So I remember reaching out to Caroline Wright. I was just looking for a job at the time. I didn't even know what the Connector program was, to be honest. But my mom was pretty good friends with her at the time, or they still are. So I sent her my resume, just asked if you know anyone I could meet and talk to. She forwarded my resume over to my manager now, Nathan Laird. And I just had a normal meeting with him as a connectee. The meeting went really well, obviously. And then a few months later, he called me in for an actual interview when there was a job opening. So it was kind of lucky, good timing, I guess, too. But I'm happy it worked out that way for sure.
And what's your background? Like school-wise?
Yep. So I grew up, I'm from North Preston, grew up in Dartmouth, lived in Nova Scotia my whole life. I went to Auburn Drive High School, where I played basketball pretty much my whole life. Ended up getting a full scholarship to Acadia University. I played basketball there for 5 years as well, and then graduated with a degree in sociology.
Oh, how was it like getting that full scholarship for you?
It was awesome. It actually came down to, it was Acadia and next were the final 2 schools that I was talking to commit with. And it was tough at the time because they were both offering full scholarships, which is phenomenal for me, very flattering. But Acadia was much closer to home. I had a few friends there at the time as well. And it was closer so my parents could come to all the games and come visit, whatnot, too, which is a big deal for me. So, yeah, I ended up going with them. And, yeah, it was great to have a full scholarship. Put more pressure on me, too, for school because you have to maintain a certain grade point average to keep that scholarship for sure. In my first year, I actually struggled with that, too, for sure. So
what happened the first year?
So I just wasn't ready for school, honestly.
Oh.
But so first year, I didn't get the scholarship originally, and I had to do some extra work, some extra credits to get that. And then, luckily, I ended up getting it my second year. But my coach had to really push for me and help and give me some extra time to finish assignments and whatnot too. First year I was just 18, first time away from home. Time management skills were not the best, definitely. And yeah, it was just kind of like a rude awakening for me. But looking back now, it was really good. Kind of prepared me for where I am now for sure.
And what did you like about playing basketball and studying at the same time?
What did I like about it?
Yeah.
Well, for basketball, it was kind of like my whole life up until a few years back, really. So it was always the biggest thing what I was doing was really kind of putting all my time and energy into basketball. And for me, school was just something that I knew I had to do in order to continue to play basketball, right? So school was never really something that came natural to me. I was never a very naturally smart student. I always had to put more work in order to maintain the grades I needed. So for me, yeah, I just knew I had to do that for basketball. And like I said, I had a lot of friends who are a year or two older than me at the time. They were educated before me. So for me, I got to kind of learn from them and continue to be with them every day and play basketball with them every day. So school was not the natural part of it for me. It was definitely basketball was the more natural aspect, but yeah, it worked out well.
So when you realized you were struggling that first year, how did you course correct that? You knew you obviously had to get the grades to get the scholarship, but what made you decide to put the work you knew you had to? Yeah,
well, I honestly just didn't like the feeling of not knowing if you're going to get your scholarship, not knowing if you're going to pass this class, or, for me, I'm someone who likes the security of things. And so, yeah, for me, I just the time management aspect of it was huge. So like I said, I love basketball. That's what I wanted to do. So I put a lot of my time into basketball. But like I said, I needed to put more time into school because it wasn't the natural thing for me. So I just kind of started to invest more time. My mother at the time, she helped me with so many papers I can't even remember. Every time I had paper, I would literally send it to her. I write my paper, she'd come back and send me a whole another copy of edits and whatnot too. So it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have got through university. I know that's for sure. So
and was she like a teacher or
no? She's just very smart. She worked in the school system a lot throughout her life as well.
Okay.
She's a lawyer now. She actually went back to school recently. So when I was at Acadia, it was funny because she went back to law school at the same time, and I was at Acadia, and we graduated at the same time. So she graduated from law school, I graduated from Acadia. So I always tease her.
That's cool.
Yeah, I tease her because she was taking away my shine of graduation. Right? It was like, I didn't get any attention when I graduated. It was all about her. But
so she's a lawyer now.
yeah, she's a lawyer now. Yeah.
Awesome. And what does her dad do?
My dad's a police officer. Actually, he's an inspector now. So it's funny. He came in to RCMP originally. He was there. He won Cadet of the Year when he was cadet class. Then he won Police Officer of the Year a few years later. He continued to move up the ranks. So he was a sergeant for a while, and now he's inspector. So yeah, he's doing really well for himself. He's actually the first police officer from North Preston as well.
Oh,
from
wow.
his community. Yeah, so yeah, he set the bar really high for all of us.
How many siblings do you have?
I'm the oldest of 3, so I have a younger brother and a younger sister, Angelina and Andrea Simmonds.
Is that a lot of responsibility on your shoulders?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a bit more pressure just because I was like kind of the guinea pig, right? So I was like always going through things first, and then kind of they were able to see if it worked for me or didn't work for me. They can kind of take that from me. But my parents always put a lot of pressure on me to kind of set the example for them and kind of show them how you should carry yourself, how to do well in school, things like that. And I always tease them because they're both like way more talented than I am, right? So especially in school, my sister was very smart. School for her was like super easy. For me, it wasn't at all. Same with my brother in sports. He's a really good football player too. So yeah, they're both extremely more talented than I am, but it keeps me grounded and keeps me focused as well to kind of push forward and set the bar for them.
Are they in school like a university now?
Yep. So my sister goes to the Mount, and my brother goes to SMU now. He went to Calgary his first year. Now he's back home.
Oh, why did he go to Calgary?
He got recruited there for football. They had a really good team. He actually was playing on Team Canada at the time, and one of the coaches for Team Canada was a Calgary coach, and so he got to build a relationship there, and then recruit him to Calgary. And then he didn't like his first year, so then he came back home, and obviously we're happy to have him back home.
He plays football for SMU?
Yep, SMU now. He's going into his second year.
Oh, wow. Wait, SMU they win like all for football at least.
Yeah.
Didn't they win a tournament recently?
Yeah, I know they did really good last year, but honestly, I didn't really follow football. I will now, definitely because my brother's playing, but before this, I didn't really follow football, US football.
Yeah, a friend of mine plays, and I don't go to the shows, but he puts photos on his Instagram, and they're always winning.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, well, hopefully they win this year while my brother's there. Hopefully keep that going.
And so... do you think, with the responsibility of being the forerunner for your siblings, does that in a way translate into what you do with Halifax Partnership?
Yeah, I think it definitely translates into my everyday life for sure, even whether it was sports or, my career, like you mentioned. I took a lot of passion in that, kind of being a good big brother for them. That's something I'm very passionate about. And whether it's, my career or my sports or just the person I am, I always want to show them that, just kind of lead the way, set the example for them, and obviously be someone that they can talk to about anything as well, right? So I try to be, as much of a second parent as I can next to my mom and dad for them. So I know how important it is to have that. I've had a lot of older friends who kind of fill that void for me, right? So yeah, I just try to be that with them. And then also now the addition of my son too, I'm a dad now, so I take a lot of responsibility with just that aspect of it as well, right? Trying to set the example for him and kind of being the dad for him that I wanted my dad to be, whatnot. So yeah, I take a lot of pride in that for sure.
How old is your son now?
He turned 1 in March.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
How do you have a relationship with his?
No, me and his mom are together. We weren't together when it happened either, but we're pretty close. So we dated all through high school. We dated actually from grade 9 up until my first few years university. So we're very cool. We had a close relationship through the whole situation. And then after we broke up university, we didn't talk for a few years. Then we got together again, and it happened pretty quickly. It definitely wasn't planned, but I said, everything happens for a reason, and it worked out to the best, right? So my son's by far the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life, really. Definitely no regrets there at all, and we have a great relationship now as co-parents too. So, and
in the year since you had your son, what ways has that affected your life?
Oh man, so many ways. It literally changed my life completely. And it's funny because when she was pregnant, it just wasn't really sinking into me that I was about to be a father. I didn't really know what it meant until I held him for the first time in the hospital. And that was when I was just man, I really need to get my life together. I was going it was a unique time in my life at that time because it was my first time not having basketball, being done school, just having so much kind of freedom now, no structure, and I was someone who kind of fed off that structure of my life. And so at this point in time, I had none of that really. It wasn't working full time at all. And so when I was just holding up for the first time, I remember just thinking like, I need to get my life together. Like I have to have a plan, get some benefits, have a full-time job, and be able to provide for him. And my biggest thing is I just want to be the dad that my dad is for me, right? For him. And so, yeah, no, I definitely take a lot of pride in that. And it changed my life completely for sure. It's funny because the night he was born, or the day he was born, it was on a Monday night. And I had an interview with my boss the next day. And I was even thinking to myself, I was like, man, I don't even know if I should go to this interview now. But then I thought about it, I was like, there's no way I'm missing out. This is like what I want, right? I got to. And honestly, I think that's the reason I got the job, because I came in that interview with like so much energy, just so motivated, so focused on that. And so, yeah, it worked out really well for me.
And having him like, so that's the work aspect, I guess. But then do you feel it's going to be difficult sometimes, especially doing what you do, because your work actually isn't just 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also things that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Outside normal working hours.
Yeah, it is for sure. Especially like when I factor in my part-time job as well. So that one's straight shift work, right? So there's some nights I'll have like a shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Or it could be like a 3-11 shift. So it's a lot harder now. But I mean, with the support I have both with my family and his mother's family as well, it's not that very challenging at all, because everyone's kind of together. It really is a team effort. So I mean, yeah, for me, it's not too much of a challenge, because my full-time job with the partnership, they're very flexible with my hours as well. So even if we have an event, my manager Nathan Laird, he's really fair to that. So if I had to say I had to go pick my son up this day, he knows I can't be at that event, right? So it's a team collective in all aspects of my life. Really, I have so much support all around me that it makes it a lot easier for sure.
And the events what are some of the events that Halifax Partnership holds, or you have to be there to represent them?
Yeah, so it's just a lot of networking events, really. So we go to a lot of different job fairs. We do a lot of presentations at the universities as well, just kind of helping them prepare for the next step. Also kind of selling our program and telling people about our program as well. So yeah, it's honestly hard to name, because every week I feel like there's events going on, right? So because even if we're not hosting it, we collaborate with so many people around the city that we're always invited to events, really. So every week there's something going on, I feel like, for sure.
And you mentioned networking. I wanted to ask, how important is networking, like, with building a career?
Oh, definitely, man. I think that's the most important thing by far. I would say networking, obviously, your personal brand is very key as well. But networking is like, especially here in Halifax, it's all about who you know and the connections that you have, right? And so, I mean, you could have like a great background, so much experience, very smart and talented. But if you don't have any connections or any network, you're not really going to get much opportunities, most likely, right? So, and it's funny because, like I said, that's my job now. I have to kind of sell that to people and allow people to understand that. But at the time when I was in university, I did absolutely no networking, like not at all. Like, it's so funny because the people I work with are like so much further ahead than I was at that time. So for me, looking back, I always kind of laugh at myself. Like, I wish I would have did so much differently. But it's good that I can kind of give that, share that experience with other people now, and kind of allow them to see that it is very important.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, because that's one thing I think I struggle with. Networking events. Yeah. But like, because I'm a little bit of introvert and shy and stuff. And then you get there, and the thing with those events is you have to talk to people.
Yeah, you have to.
What kind of advice would you give to someone like me or someone out there listening, struggling with how to network? What's the best approach to that?
Oh, well, I mean, it's funny because I'm the exact same way. Like, I'm a very shy guy. I honestly, it's not natural for me to go and talk to, especially strangers at that, right? So if I could, I would honestly stay in my own little bubble, right? So I always relate better with people who can understand that for sure. Yeah. But even just throughout my time at that partnership, I've come like a long time in that year. So it really does it's kind of a process for sure. And the more events you go to, the better each one gets, I find, too. So, and you eventually start to run to the same people, right? So eventually everyone knows you by name, and you're, nice to see you again. And you start talking about things that may not even be relevant to the event, like the basketball game that just happened up before, or the weather, right? So just the more you kind of go, the more confident you get, and the more natural it becomes eventually. So it's a process for sure. You just kind of have to trust that process of it. For me, it was a very awkward process in the beginning. I hated networking events.
I know.
And I remember in my job interview, they were like, they asked, are you like, what's your personality like? Do you feel comfortable going to network? And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. But in my head, I'm like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to do that. But yeah, no, it gets better with time for sure.
And what are some of the things people should focus on at those events? Like talking about.
Yeah. I think it's good to do a little bit of research before you go into the actual event. So you should always know what obviously the event you're going to, but what's going to be like the topic of the event, right? So, or even if it's someone, organization who's hosting the event that you want to potentially work for, maybe. So say you're a recent graduate trying to get connected to RBC, and RBC is holding an event. Go in, do some background on RBC, maybe even look at the website, find a few people you want to connect with, right? And so you set a target goal for yourself. You want to connect with 3 people. You go in, you have that in mind. Maybe you know those 3 people. You see them. You know their background. You know things that they do on a daily basis, or you know what their company is looking for at the time. If you already have that background knowledge going in and you do that research beforehand, it gives you so much more, like, it's so much easier to go and talk about that because you already done your homework, right? So it's more natural now. You know what you're prepared to talk about, and it's your time's right there to go do that, right? So I think, the more you kind of preparation you do, the research you do beforehand, the easier it is when you actually get there, for sure.
Oh, okay.
That works for me anyway. So.
And then here's the next one though. So the networking events is cool. You're prepared. You get all these things.
Yeah.
The one I also suck out following up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
What's the best approach to following up after an event?
Well, that's a great point. That's a very important aspect of it, obviously, too. It's good to have some business cards as well on you, too. So I know when I was in school, I didn't even know what business cards were, to be honest. I was like, what? So even if you're a student or a recent grad and you're not employed, it's a little hard to have a business card. But if you have LinkedIn and things like that, then it's good you can exchange that information right away and just say follow up a few weeks later or a week later. It's because for me, I always like, if I get your business card, I'm going to try to make a note of it. So, okay, so maybe he's wearing a blue shirt, he works at this work, whatever, right? Just so I can remember who you are. Because at the time, especially if you're someone who goes to events every day, there's a good chance you're not going to remember everyone you run into, right? So just try to make some notes after you meet each person if you can, or just trying to help yourself to remember little things, little details about people and whatnot too. And that way I find when you follow up, it's better because you can it's more personal. So if you remember little details about someone, then they can see that right away, right? So it makes it more genuine, and it just turns into more of a personal connection rather than just someone thinking, oh, you need help finding a job, right? People are much more eager to help you when they don't feel the pressure of, okay, I need to help this person find a job, as opposed to they just want to sit down, chat, pick my brain, and maybe potentially help build a network, right? So people want to help a lot more, I find, when you frame it that way, as opposed to, hey, can you help me find a job? So, it's just a lot easier.
And what are some of the good experiences you've had working at the Halifax Partnership so far?
Well, I have a great team. I think that's the most fun thing about what I do. I genuinely love the people I work with, especially my manager. He's been a great kind of boss and mentor for me. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is the people I actually work with. And then also we get to collaborate with so many people around the city. So even run into events. Sometimes I go to events and I see my parents there, right? So that's pretty funny for me. It's pretty cool to kind of be under the same roof as so many talented other people around the city. So I think that's probably the thing I like most about it, just kind of being able to collaborate with other people and work with some really talented people. Sometimes I found myself just kind of looking around the room being like, how did I manage to get in here? Like, I'm in the same room as this person, you know what I mean? So that's the cool part for me. And every day I'm still like in awe of that too, really. Just kind of just enjoying the moment and kind of just being proud to be here, really. So that's probably the best part of it, I think.
And how do you think, what to you is, or are some of the unique things about living in Halifax and the networking scene in Halifax?
It's just so close. Everyone's so close knit together, right? So I love it because it's so much easier to get established at a faster pace as opposed to the bigger cities like Toronto, BC. There's a good chance you're just going to be another person there, right? But here you do one little thing, everyone knows, right? You do one little good thing, you're automatically on a pedestal, which can work in your favor, but it could also go against you the moment you do something that's not so great, right? So there's benefits and not great things about that. But yeah, no, I do love that aspect for sure. And it's obviously very close knit to our family or background or ancestors, right? So you run into your cousin probably almost every day here, but for me, right? So I love that part of it as well. Everyone's just so close together.
I guess, now I'm going to go back to your son. So you had him and he kind of took your life in a different trajectory. It led you to the job here.
Yeah.
But was there a part where you were frightened, scared of the whole...
Yeah.
The whole experience.
The whole time before he was born, that's all I felt, really. And I'm embarrassed to say that now because I'm just so happy and proud to be a father. But before I actually held him for the first time, all I felt was scared, nervous. I had a lot of self-doubt. Didn't even know if I was ready for this, if I could be a father, if I could really make him a priority in my life. And I think it made those feelings a bit stronger because me and his mom weren't together at the time, right? So I was just like, it's a lot harder to be involved when you're not with the person. Not to say that it's not the other way around. It's hard either way, but it's just for me, I put more pressure on myself because it was kind of like, it was not the ideal situation. Like I always envisioned myself being this, a great father figure who has a family and married with kids, right? And so for me, it just seemed like kind of sudden. I wasn't prepared at all, and that's all I felt was nervous in the beginning, really. So that was a really hard time for me. It was the whole time his mom was pregnant, it was just like a lot of anxiety, very, very nervous, very scared. Yeah, a lot of very mixed emotions going on.
And how do your parents handle being grandparents?
Yeah, honestly, I'm seeing a completely different side in them that I'd never seen before. Like growing up here, like with me, my brother and sister, they were so strict and so hard on us. But my son can get away with whatever, literally whatever. And I love it too. You definitely get to see a lot softer side of them for sure. And they've been awesome. They've been like just so heavily involved, and they've been made it like way easier for me to be a great father. Again, the way they raised all of us, there's no reason for me not to be a great father because that's the parents they were for all of us. But I think, just seeing how involved they are, just how much they check in, like anything he wants, anything I need to get from him, they get it right away, right? So it takes a lot of pressure off of me for sure. It just allows me to work on myself and be a great man so that I can be a great father. And they're just, so heavily involved. So it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I can imagine because I remember, it's almost like you have one more space or one more set of hands to help you with raising your son.
Exactly.
And how do your siblings handle being an uncle and an aunt?
Yeah, they're actually really good too. It's funny too because I teased my brother. His first time holding the baby was my son, obviously, right? So like I remember telling him like you're holding him like a football, like he's just like doing that. But no, they've honestly come a really long way. They've been a lot of help too. Like I can't say how proud I am of them, for being in this situation. They're so much younger than me too, so I can't imagine when I was 18 years old if I could be an uncle, right? So it's been nice to see a different side of them too, and we're always just been such a close family, but to kind of add one more piece to the family and to see how everyone comes together has been amazing for sure. So definitely very thankful for all my family. And
so let's talk about you grew up in North Preston.
Yeah.
Does this stigma that's kind of attached to the name in Nova Scotia, North Preston, and how is that for you first growing up and now?
Yeah, for sure. There's always been like, especially more so when I was younger. I feel like I handle that a lot better now because there's so many different positive things that are happening around the community and whatnot too. Not to say that there wasn't before, but it's just more highlighted now, I think. And there's a lot more out there with social media, the platforms we have now. You can it's easier to sell up all the positive things that are happening around the community. But yeah, growing up, I definitely had to experience a lot, stereotypes in schools. You just rumors going around, always from North Preston, automatically you're assumed to be a certain way that maybe you're not, right? So that was something I struggled with a lot. But like I said, with my parents and the support they gave us, like I really didn't have to let that bother me too much. They kind of set the example. They set the foundation for all of us, right? And so even for my dad to be like the first police officer from North Preston.
How's that? Like, how did how's that handled?
For sure.
Yeah.
So I definitely had a unique upbringing just because of that reason alone, right? So for me, that's all I really seen. So that's why I attached North Preston to all the time. Was just my dad. That was my first representation of North Preston was my father, right, and his parents as well. So for me, it made things so much easier to kind of just focus on that, and all I knew was positive because that's how I was brought up. That's how I was raised. So I mean, obviously I heard about other things happening in the community, and whatnot, but whether it was good or bad. But for me, my upbringing, all I could focus on was what I've seen in front of me, and that was my father. So it made it a lot easier for me to just only think about success, really. That's all I ever envisioned. Just because
was it difficult for him being like a cop in North Preston?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, even to this day, I'm sure it's still difficult for him, obviously. But he told me some stories where, like, he was spit on and like called obviously inappropriate names and whatnot too. So he's overcame a lot, and obviously there's much more support now than there was originally, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I can only imagine some of the stuff he had to go through, and especially at a young age, because him and my mom had me when they were 18 years old, right? So he became a police officer when he was like 21 or 22. So a really, really young age, so much growing up to do that time. I can't imagine being a police officer that young. I can't even imagine being one now. So I can't imagine all the things he would have had to go through that young.
Did he always want to be a police officer?
No, that's the funny thing. He said he grew up. He honestly wasn't never a big fan of police officers in general. Being North Preston, police never had a good reputation in North Preston for many reasons. So for him, he never thought of that himself. He even said to this day he doesn't think he was smart enough. Didn't think it was sustainable for him to do that. And I think it was, when he had me, he kind of started to have some self-reflection as well and just started to think like, I have a son now, I have to provide for a family. This is what I need to do. So for him, he was kind of like forced into it. I guess it was just the best thing for him to do at the time. And thank God he did that for sure. It definitely worked out very well. But yeah, no, he definitely wasn't a plan of his at all, I don't think.
Okay. What's the time?
24:27.
Cool.
Yep.
So let's,
Cool.
so we'll just kind of round up now. We're good to go?
1 sec. Just gonna write down how many bells it was. 2 bells.
24 minutes already.
Yeah, that's the thing. He goes.
Yeah,
He
I feel
goes.
like it's been 5 minutes.
He goes
I want to
fast.
cut the next one like a little short.
Yeah, because of time. Yeah, we'll be
30
good.
minutes, I'll give you
We'll be good. Yeah.
Rolling there, and whenever you're ready, give me a clap. 2B. Or sorry, 3B.
3B. Talking about North Preston. Did you see This Is North Preston?
Yeah, I knew that question was coming. As soon as you brought it up, I was like, I know he's going with this one. Yeah, I seen that movie. Yeah.
What was your reaction to the film?
I have a lot of mixed emotions about it, for sure. I definitely don't agree with the title. I think that's the first thing that jumped out to me right away. It's just like the title of the movie, This Is North Preston, it kind of gives a perception of this is what the whole community is about, and this is how everyone's lives kind of lived, and I definitely didn't agree with that at all. Like I said, my upbringing is completely different from other people in the community. Like I think everyone has their own unique experience, whether it's in North Preston or any other community, right? So for me, I never could relate to any of that, especially what was in the film. I couldn't relate to any of that because I was brought up a different way, right? So not to say that doesn't happen, but I think it happens all over the world. So I thought they could have did a better job of just showing more positive things about the community, especially if you're gonna name the title of This Is North Preston. I think you should show all aspects of North Preston and not just kind of one side of it. So I understand what they were trying to do because obviously that is a part of the community. That is what a lot of people had to go through, and I completely understand that, and I do support that. But I just think it could have been done a better way to show a better visual of all the things that are a part of the community for sure. And there's just so many people, individuals that deserve their congrats, like whether it's my dad or our younger generation now. There's so many different things happening around the community. I can't even name all of them, right? So I thought could have did a better job just showing all aspects of it. That's my kind of take from it, I guess.
Yeah, I keep hearing that a lot, and people saying that it's kind of one-sided, the story that was being told.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and almost everyone just has an issue with that title. They should have called it literally anything else except that.
Yeah, literally, that was like the first thing that jumped out to me right away, and I was just like, man, I knew there was going to be so much backlash that came with that, which I don't think is a bad thing, is because it starts the conversations, right? So the fact that we were having these conversations, we're talking about uncomfortable things like that, I think that's already a step forward for sure. But yeah, no, I definitely didn't agree with a lot of it for sure. And I hate to say that because I always want to support movements that are happening in the community, or whether it's my peers or any community, right? I want to support that, but there's certain things that you can't really support, I guess, for sure.
Yeah. And talking about that, do you remember a couple of months ago we had that police report with how the difference between black people being stopped, getting traffic stops and arrests.
Yeah, for sure.
How was your reaction to that?
I wasn't really surprised. I mean, it was always kind of talked about. This was the first time that they actually done some research on it and kind of showed the facts. But I mean, I wasn't surprised at all. And yeah, it's great that they did that research and put it out there, like, again, to kind of start the conversations and to have everyone start to think about these things. But for a lot of people, it's just been a reality for so long that it's nothing new to so many people, right? So I think it's good that it's out there now, but I do think it's long overdue. And it was time for it to do that. It was a long time ago for that to happen. But I'm glad it finally did, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. And I remember reading that and thinking, holy smokes! Like, it's just
for sure.
Skewed oh man. And when such a report comes, do you think, like, your dad being a police officer in North Preston and such a report coming out, people, like, do you think it kind of reflects negatively on him and how people see him in the community? Yeah, no, I used to think that when I was younger, for sure. I think now, just as a family, we've all gotten past that, for sure. So, I mean, I know my dad as just take the police officer away. I know how he is as a man. I know him more of a person now. So for me, I never worry about that anymore. And it really doesn't matter to me because I know who my dad is. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I struggled with that a little bit because I was trying to find myself, and I didn't really have that same relationship I do with him now, right? So I kind of worried about how do other people think about him, or what do they think about the family, right? But yeah, no, now none of that really even matters to me. And we do. I mean, he gets a ton of support from the community just with the work he does outside of being a police officer, right? So his whole life he's done a lot of coaching. He coached me in basketball
my whole life, and he's just been a mentor for so many kids that for me, I never worry about that because he's been such a great man. He's had such an influence on many people's lives that it's not really going to matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such stories that I hear that I'm like, they didn't even tell stories like that in this film.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's
there's like a lot of things happen in the city, and like this guy. Quintrell with Stop the Violence.
Yeah, for sure.
Something like that wasn't highlighted.
Exactly.
I'm thinking, holy smokes.
No, there's so many things you could talk about. So that's why I was like, I'm not even going to bother trying to name all the positive things because, like, especially with where we are right now, like I said, all the platform we have on social media and just all the different things happening, even like whether it's through sports or just kind of the community work, the outreach work that you just mentioned. Like, there's so many good things happening around that you could have include that easily. Even if you didn't include all of them, you could have at least a few of them, right? So yeah, I didn't understand that at all for sure. But I mean, yeah, can't do anything about that.
And as someone that likes basketball and plays basketball, how was your reaction when the Raptors won?
Oh man, I was super excited. I was like, I'm still kind of shocked. It happened, honestly. Like, I still can't really believe it. And I'm a huge Steph Curry fan too, so it was kind of bittersweet for me. But it was definitely bittersweet for sure. But no, I'm really proud to be a Canadian. Proud to happy for all Canadians. Really.
But why didn't they win Game 5?
Why didn't they win Game 5? I don't know. I knew they couldn't win that soon. They had to work a little bit for it, right? It was too good to be true.
Like, I think they lost by 1 point or something like this.
That was when Iguodala hit that last shot, I think, right? The 3-pointer.
I'm like, man, I remember watching that I remember watching that match and thinking, like, they had it.
Yeah, no.
And that was the one where this guy got injured. What's his name?
Oh, Durant?
Yeah.
Durant,
he got injured in that game. And me. Yeah, I was so sure they were going to win.
Yeah, no. Well, I honestly, after that, like, I was like, okay, there's no way they're winning.
Yeah.
Like, even when they were up 3-1, I was still like very scared. Like,
yeah.
Because then again, it's Golden State. You can never really doubt them, right? But yeah, no, I'm happy they won for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the country ran crazy that day. But it was scary. There was a shooting at the parade.
Oh, yeah, I seen that in Toronto. Yeah,
that
was crazy.
That was weird.
Yeah, no, it was. Like, I think some people got hurt too. So
but hopefully no one died. I didn't really read up on that. I remember watching that last match, and you could tell. Why do you think it took the team so long to get there? Like, was it just LeBron? Because holy shit,
that was a big part of that. That was definitely a big part of it. I
remember telling someone when LeBron was traded that, you know what? This might just be the year these guys go to the final. Yeah. I was just saying, because it's like every time.
Literally, and it's funny, they won the first year he was gone over the East. Yeah. That's when they win, right? So, yeah, no, I think that was a huge part of it for sure.
Every time. It's like this one person just stopped a whole team.
I don't know what it was. He just killed them every time, too. Like, I don't know if they were like, I don't know what Drake did before these games, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I remember thinking, so it just boiled down to that. Well, now that they've won, do you think they'll be able to repeat that?
I don't know if they'll repeat again next year. I think it depends, obviously, on what Kawhi does, right? So if he stays at 100%, have a good chance for sure. It's still gonna be hard either way, but without him, it's gonna be very tough to repeat.
Who stood out for you in that team in the series?
I love Fred VanVleet. I think he's that's my boy. I love him, man. Yeah.
What? I remember watching that guy. That guy played his soul.
Yeah, literally.
His soul.
And it's just a great story too. Undrafted. Never high prospect, right? So
that was amazing, he played his soul out there. And that last game, I think he scored a little point.
He never shows any emotion when he hits these big shots. You wouldn't know if he's having a bad game or a good game by his face. And I love that because it's hard to find that now in today's game. So.
Oh man, it was great. Doing was great.
Yeah.
Actually, so I'm gonna end it with this though.
Okay.
Now you're a father and you're doing with the work you're doing with Halifax Partnerships. It's great that you had this awesome upbringing with your parents and now your siblings and people. You have these people looking up to you. What would you tell some kid out there? It's just at the verge of finishing university, about to come out, start living life, get a job. What kind of advice would you give such a person?
I think just stay true to yourself. For me, I don't like I said, the big change around for my life. Obviously, my parents are a huge aspect of who I am today, my whole family. And so I can't talk about myself without giving them their praise for sure, because I wouldn't even be sitting here if it wasn't for them. So I think everyone needs some support around them. And I'm so thankful to have my whole family in my life, especially my parents. And obviously, my big turnaround was when my son was born. But I don't think that people should need, that type of situation to give you that kick in the butt. So that's one thing I wish I didn't take me so long to kind of snap into it like it did. But yeah, some advice I would give is just stay true to yourself. And, you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs, some bad times. Obviously, that's a part of life. That still happens to everyone every day. So I think just learn how to stay even keel, never get too high, never get too low. Just remember what your why is. For me, when times get hard and every day I go through some type of adversity, usually whether it's a presentation at work I don't want to do or an event I have to go to, I just think about my why, and that's definitely my son, my family, and I want to, do well for them. I want them to be proud of me, especially my son. I want him to look at me and be proud of his dad, right? So for me, it's easier to be motivated and overcome adversity because I'm automatically thinking about that. And so for anyone out there, especially the young people, just think about what your why is. Everyone has a different why, right? Yeah. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing I would like to advice I could give to someone is just always remember that through the bad and also through the good, because it's important to never celebrate too much. It's good to reflect and be proud of what you've done, but you never want to get too high because there's always that next thing that you can focus on and those next steps you have to take. So that would be the best thing I would say for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in, AJ.
Man, I appreciate it.
Had an amazing time.
Yeah, me too, man. It's lovely. I was a little nervous coming into it, didn't know what to expect, but I'm glad I came for sure, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
This is the Blackout Podcast.
Thanks for listening.